Hello and welcome to another edition of East of Ethnia. Got two videos for this week rather than the usual one a week, or I shoot for one a week. Sometimes I miss a week. So this seems like really a lot, and I might compensate for it by taking a little break a week or two from now. But I did see something while reading the news this morning that I kind of wanted to share. It's an example of a propaganda article from one of the tabloids, the daily tabloids in Serbia that specializes in these. And the article is, I mean, not a major propaganda article. It is a minor one. It appears toward the bottom of the page. I believe it's no longer even on the front page of the tabloid that it came from Večernje novosti. But it's from an iconic propaganda tabloid, one of the first to appear in Serbia, from Večernje novosti. And Večernje novosti may not be read by many people, or not by many people of working age in any case, but it's really an influential one. I mean, it was founded in the 1950s and has adopted this tone for a while. It was one of the kind of chief fighters for the propaganda cause of the very destructive and genocidal wars of the 1990s. Some people have described it as kind of the velvet underground of propaganda tabloids, in the sense that not a lot of people bought or listened to the first Velvet Underground album, but everybody who did formed a musical group playing in a similar style, and that's what Večernje novosti did. You can see traces of their style in other sleazy daily papers. You can see it in Informer, in Courier, in Politica, which has become increasingly that way, although it was once a respectable paper, and so on. So this particular article, it is about student protests at the university in Niš. And the title of the article, I will put a link in the comments below this video when I post it, is how the Faculty of Philosophy of Niš became a political scene. Okay, and I just want to kind of go through it point by point, because it shows a lot of the ways that propaganda is constructed in this everyday level, not in a dramatic front page level, but the sort of thing people encounter every day. So let me share with you first just the bit from the top of the page that shows the title and the description. And here we have the the title segment. So the first thing, there is a message there. The important thing about propaganda, you've got to give your instructions to the reader about what to think early on. So it says the students do not have the support of the majority of the students, and they do not have legitimacy. And that's right there in the large type at the top of the article. And you look down to the paragraph that's sort of the abstract paragraph that summarizes the article, and it says the same thing, without majority support and without legitimacy. So this is one of the keys that's important to propaganda. That's repetition. Get it through. Let people know what their instructions are. You can't expect people to follow the instructions if they don't know what they are. Second, it's important to put labels on the things that you are discussing, and so. They call first of all, they call the protesters by the name that's used in regime propaganda to describe the protesters. They say blockaderi. So I guess you could say that's sort of blockadiers, like Mouseketeers or something like that. It's meant to ridicule them. I think if we share the screen again, we can see some of their labels. Okay. Let me be sure that I'm showing you the right image there. Uh, I'm going to try doing this again. Forgive me if we have some um, okay, this ought to be the right one. So it calls the protesters. It says they are blockadiers and that they are anarchistic blockadiers, but that in addition to being anarchistic, they're anti-državna, so against the state, anti-nacionalna, so against the nation, and it also says that they are instruments. Instruments of what? Of an ideologically um, uh, passionate, interest group that has interests that are outside of the faculty and the university. Okay, so you've got the set of labels there. This is what you're supposed to think of the students, or at least today, because sometimes they're not anarchists, but communists. A couple of paragraphs down, they're going to become fascists. So let's pay attention to that. Now, what is the reason that they're doing this? They do mention a couple of causes, and one of the causes that they mention, and there's a long passage describing it. They say that the students are opposed, as they are, to the forced founding of a new faculty at the University of Niš, the so-called Faculty of Serbian Studies. So they say that they are opposed to the founding of Fakultete Srpskih studije I sve što ima veze sa očuvanjem srpskog identiteta. Okay, so they're opposed not only to the Serbian Studies faculty, but everything that has to do with preserving Serbian identity. This description is a little bit strange if you consider what is actually the content of this Faculty of Serbian Studies that is being imposed on the University of Niš. So first thing, contrary to the way that pretty much any faculty is founded at any university in the world, but it's also the regular practice in Serbia. This was not a proposal that came from the university itself or from staff of the university or initiative of the university. It was imposed as a decision by the Ministry of Education in Belgrade, and the University of Niš found out about it that way. Second, they're talking about Serbian studies as being a way of preserving Serbian identity. Now, there are a lot of national studies programs in the world. Croatia has Croatian studies. The U.S. has American studies. This is a bit of a normal thing. These are usually like literature, culture, and history programs combined. I suppose they're trying to do something similar with the Serbian studies in Niš. What they're doing is they're taking three departments from the Faculty of Philosophy. So the Faculty of History, the Faculty of Serbian, which is mostly a language and literature department, and the Faculty of Russian, which is a language and literature department, and they're calling those Serbian studies. Now, you might say that the Department of Serbian belongs in there since it's concerned with Serbian culture, but as a language and literature department, they are also concerned with things like linguistics, literary theory, comparative literature, and so on. It's a real literature department. It's not a propaganda department. Similarly with history. In history, there are people who deal with history of Serbia, and there are people who teach general history, history of other parts of the world, historiography, historical method, and so on. And then as to whether the Faculty of Russian Studies is a part of preserving Serbian identity and so on, I'll just show you in case anybody is not aware of it. This map, and the map shows if you look down toward the bottom left side of the map, you'll see in sort of darkish yellow, like Dijon mustard color, that is Serbia. Whereas Russia is up toward the top right of the map. You can just sort of see the edge of it, and it's in the color of Baba Ganoush that has been left out too long. It is, in fact, a country that is not only a different country, but not that near geographically. So what Russian studies is doing there, I mean, probably the assumption is that people in Russian studies will be sympathetic to the politics of the Russian Federation. Not necessarily a good assumption, but it's definitely not a part of preserving Serbian identity or culture or anything like that. Now, the next step in propaganda is to identify who the enemies are that are people are being invited to fight or to struggle against. And there are two sets of enemies that are interesting here. So one set, and let me show you just another little passage from the article here. Um, One set is two members of the delegation from the European Parliament who had visited Serbia the previous week. Interestingly, both of them, although it was a larger delegation, are politicians from the region. So they have identified Tonino Picula from Croatia and Vladimir Prebilic from Slovenia. And what's interesting, I mean, Prebilic is not really much of a figure in the nationalist propaganda, but Picula is. There is a sustained effort to try to present him as though he is some some kind of fascist, a sympathizer of fascist movements from Croatia. It is really intensive, which is ironic, considering that Picula himself is quite far from being a politician of the right or from being a fascist. He is a stalwart of the Social Democratic Party in Croatia and has been for the last 30 years. Prebilic in Slovenia is younger, but he is a representative in the European Parliament, elected from the Vesna Party, which is a part of the European Green Coalition. So nothing to do there. But the other part of identifying the enemies, the other set of enemies, is the students themselves. And then the article moves on to say that preparations are being made to motivate people to participate in elections that may be upcoming and so on, with the implication that these are full-time political activists and that the students are not really students. The last thing that I will say about this article is that it doesn't really come to a conclusion or to a logical end. And I had some difficulty explaining this. I mean, could this be kind of the news article style, the so-called inverted pyramid style, in which you put the most important facts first and then the facts continue in descending order of importance so that the editors, to make space, can cut it off wherever they need to? Probably not, because it's an opinion piece. It's not identified as an opinion piece, but you can see it from the text. But I come to think that the endlessness of the article is probably not a mistake. It's a way of reflecting the endlessness of processes of propaganda, that you don't create people, you don't indoctrinate them with just one article appearing in one paper in one day. But propaganda is like the oxygen in through which you breathe, like the air through which you walk, the environment in which you live. It's repeated every day. It becomes normalized. It's offered to you as a way of thinking, as a way of living. It's offered to you the way that water is offered to a fish. You dwell in the propaganda, and you're encouraged to do it by consuming these media every day and becoming accustomed to their list of labels, to their list of villains, to their priorities, to their fears, until the point where they become your own. Are there ways of getting power over this? The main one, I think, is to be able to recognize the processes, um, which is not difficult, but it's also not inevitable because there is a lot of temptation, I think, to accept what is experienced every day as normal and to think of the ideas that are being presented as thoughts that are plausible. You don't begin to recognize them until you look at them, and so you ought to look at them. And that's my message for today. Thanks very much for your time and attention, and we'll talk to you again soon.